Welcome to NBC News Daily, where we start right now with breaking news. A federal judge has ruled that Google holds an illegal monopoly in multiple areas of online advertising technology. Now, this ruling, it could allow prosecutors to push to break up part of the company. It is the second antitrust case the tech titan has lost, potentially being forced to sell Chrome to end its dominance in online searching. All of this comes after new warnings from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, who says that tariffs could push inflation higher and then even slow down growth.
The level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated, and the same is likely to be true of the economic effects. Unemployment is likely to go up as the economy slows in all likelihood, and inflation is likely to go up as tariffs find their way, and some part of those tariffs come to be paid by the public.
Well, in response to that, President Donald Trump is saying Powell is always, quote, too late and wrong, and, quote, he should have lowered interest rates and should certainly lower them now. Powell's termination cannot come fast enough, again, in the words of President Donald Trump. Rates, meanwhile, have been at their current level since December. The Fed has decided not to lower them during the last two decision periods. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Cheung joins us now. Brian, I want to start with that monopoly ruling. What does it actually mean?
Yeah, a lot going on here. But this crossing just in the last few hours, Google getting this ruling from a district judge in Virginia, which basically says that they lost or rather could not defend themselves on the merit of not having an antitrust situation there. Google basically under fire for the way that their ad services are put together. And this judge is ruling that the way that they were using contracts with companies that were advertising on Google platforms could be something that was anti-competitive. Google saying in a statement, quote, "We won half of this case and we will appeal the other half." They say that they disagree with the court's decision on the way that they use those publisher tools and the way that they kind of leverage those contracts with people that do advertise on the Google platform. I want to point out that the consumer implications of this are a little bit unknown. Again, what we're talking about here is not necessarily Gmail. This is the way that companies pay Google to put advertising on their platform. But nonetheless, this is something that kind of calls into view the general regulation of big tech. I should mention on the same day that we are in day 4 of a Meta trial against the FTC, where Sheryl Sandberg, the former COO, is actually testifying today.
And again, I want to underscore what you just said. We don't know yet that consumers would necessarily see a difference when they type in their Google Chrome or when they're doing an online search. I do want to switch gears, though. This war of words between Jerome Powell and President Donald Trump. And we have to say, Fed Chair Jerome Powell really hasn't issued any statements against the president. He's simply doing something the president does not like. Why? Yeah, well, I mean, the Federal Reserve has been pretty steadfast in describing the current situation on the economy. And they're saying that the tariffs will drag on the economy. And that's because, in part, the tariffs are larger than they had expected. So the Fed Chair Jay Powell was talking yesterday, and he said that because of these outsized tariffs, he's projecting a slower paced economy in terms of growth, and in addition to higher inflation, as well as potentially even a higher unemployment rate down the line, which is very concerning. So the president didn't like that outlook and basically went to Truth Social and said that his termination can't come fast enough, suggesting that maybe he'd be interested in firing the Fed chair, which, by the way, it's not legally clear if he can do so. But nonetheless, there's a lot of questions and confusion over whether or not he's talking about, I want to fire him now, or I just can't wait for his term end to arrive, which would be around May of next year. Either way, that's just another form of uncertainty for the markets, which have been riled as of the last few weeks. Currently, right now, it seems like markets are mixed, though, so we'll have to see how the rest of the day pans out. Mixed like consumer sentiment these days. Brian Cheung, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.